We'll make you punch boulders after this.
You hear this exactly from the credits music in Resident Evil 2.
The highest quality of rips.
Or an advertisement with both legs.
Oh, what do you mean? Is it an advertisement? No, that's straight from the game.
If only Melly attacks you that much damage today.
I mean,
Instead of
why would Silver Gunner lie to me about this?
That's what Rebecca said.
So who do I talk to about getting my free Globex Spotify?
You talk to this.
I'm Chris Redfield right here.
Are you Chris Redfield, free, psychosomatic, freak out, wake up in a bar and do something more? That's the Chris Redfield I want to be.
Yeah, go ahead. I think
I don't talk about Europe.
Alright, there. Alright, this is our second time running this panel called Operation Biohazard.
Yeah.
Woo!
And, my name is Jordan Husky. I was going to cosplay as Chris Redfield and I left my vest back at home.
Boo!
Thankfully, we got a replacement right here.
Woo!
And I'm Shadowsnake123. I'm cosplaying as Leon from Resident Evil 4. I'm sadly the only one here who cosplays Resident Evil.
Woo! And I got two of my friends over here who are going to help us out with this panel. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
My name is Antonio Carrillo. I'm helping them out with this nice little panel. Best friends.
I'm Samantha, and I'm husband is Hannah.
Why are your ears in that?
What?
Why are your ears in that?
So I can help Jordan.
But you're not Capcom.
They could.
But she's magic.
You have to improvise.
This is an anime convention. Nothing makes sense anymore.
And
None of this is canon.
a while ago, I've been helping out RiverCityGamers.com, which our good friend over here, Clayton Grills, also known as Zero Master,
Hi.
flew all the way from Canada to come see us.
If you got a street pass from Canada, it's probably me.
I should probably stop breathing at the mic. Okay, so the things what you're gonna be expecting is that, of course, we got a whole presentation. We're gonna be doing discussions about the whole thing, so we encourage audience participation. And later on, we will host a trivia show. It'll be our first time running this trivia show, and ConOps at San Japan helpfully decided to provide us some prizes to give away.
You're gonna like them. I guarantee it.
As long as it ain't Heaven's Lost Property.
No, you're not.
As long as it's not a fall guy, I'm good.
All right. Well, I think we've stalled long enough. So we're gonna have a little bit to discuss here. We're gonna be going through origins and inspirations. As you can see, everything's listed here. I can tell you everything right here, but you can read it for yourself. I should probably get this out of the way too. How does anyone feel about mature content? I mean, this goes without saying, but would anyone feel offended if I were to say certain words?
Basically curse words.
What do you mean curse words? I mean, what's this fuck you speak of?
Watch your fucking mouth.
Fucking do it already.
Alright. And,
Yeah, we're all adults here, so. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I like how to, that is better. I can actually talk like a person without having to hunch over like a goddamn goblin.
Okay. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Alright.
Fucking super annoying.
Alright, so let's go ahead and press on. Now for origins and inspirations, is anyone here familiar with what inspired the Resident Evil franchise? Yes?
Sweet home.
That is correct. Do we want to play some Sweet Home? I loaded up YouTube. Go on to Firefox and just do a search for Sweet Home. Just for demonstration purposes, in case no one knows what that is. Thanks for bringing it up, by the way. What's your name?
I'm Julian.
Julian. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, a little bit of footage of Sweet Home over here. This right here was a this was one of the early examples of a horror game released by Capcom.
Which one is that?
Alright, now, for this game, it plays out like, we can probably skip ahead a bit if you want. It plays out like, it's an RPG game where you have to manage 5 characters at once. If anyone can die in this game and they die permanently, so your endings will vary depending on who's alive and who's dead. Some of the inspiration comes from the atmosphere. There's a door animation, which is in there somewhere. I didn't take the time to look over the footage, to be honest with you guys.
Yeah, we just wanted to show you where the inspiration came from.
But yeah, Capcom did make this game, and there was another game that they were inspired by. Anyone know what that is?
Glow in the dark.
Julian, thanks again. Well, I'll only show a little bit of that, just the intro is fine, because let's face facts, the graphics did not age well in that game. Alone in the Dark is kind of an interesting series, too. Now, that came out on MS-DOS, and I believe it was released on several other systems, including the 3DO. We may have to skip it a bit because it has that stupid little... Actually, no. Let them listen. Raise the volume, please. I guess there's no volume. Just skip ahead. Normally, there's a floppy disk version and a CD-ROM version. The CD-ROM version includes voice acting. And
It goes as well as you expect.
it's the most over-dramatic voice acting ever. There's probably, well, let's move on. Let's go ahead and skip ahead in the video, like, I don't know, 10 minutes in. Just to give them the idea what the general gameplay was. It's going to become very apparent, now turn that down. It's going to become very apparent very quickly that Resident Evil was inspired by this kind of gameplay. For anyone who wants to play this these days, it's available on goodoldgames.com for $10 for the set of 3 games. And just a brief look at Alone in the Dark. If you thought Resident Evil went down the whole action route after 4, this game went into the action route on the second game, Onward. And it's gotten pretty terrible since.
Especially with the newer one, I don't think I need to say anything on that one.
Yeah, the 2008 one.
I think there was like a recent one that
Yeah.
Pro Jared played on his streaming channel, and it was awful, like really bad.
Like, they explained the entire story inside the text box.
Oh, by the way, they basically ripped off. They basically had the main character from that game rip off Leon's code from Resident Evil 6. So, like when you look at it and compare it from like Resident Evil 6 to the code to that game, it looks so identical. It's like, wow, you guys didn't.
If you want to show them, that's up to you. Otherwise, we can just move on.
I think they've seen enough of Alone in the Dark.
Yeah. That's got to be playing for there we go, that's fine. This is just to give you an idea that the Resident Evil game we came to know, I believe it was released in '96, right? Yeah.
Look that up on Wikipedia.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's been a long day. Anyway, a lot of the gameplay elements came from that. There was also some very interesting developments when the game was coming out, such as the fact that it was supposed to be a first-person shooter, and how we had different side characters that never came to be, such as one for Jill Valentine, which would have been a big hulking Spaniard character who would have a bionic eye, and then one for Chris, where it's Eddie Murphy.
Does he party all the time?
1.5.
1.5 refers to 2. We'll get to that later. And I think one of the main things we can talk about is the voice acting in the game, because that's something we can't quite avoid.
It's inevitable. I mean, when you talk Resident Evil 1, you just can't avoid the hilariously bad voice acting.
Jill sandwiches?
You were almost a Jill.
You're a little too close on bad voice acting.
Same here.
I'm tone deaf, so I can't really act worth anything.
I guess we could sort of agree that it's gotten better with the remake.
Well, the thing is though, this is a game that Capcom made that they insist on trying to make it into the English language, even though it was coming out in Japan first. So when they did the voice direction, they didn't quite know exactly the tones and dialects and whatnot, so when the English voice actors were delivering the lines, like, oh my goodness, like, it's a weapon. It's really powerful, especially against living things. You, the master of unlocking, better take it with you. Oh, Barry. I apologize for torturing you with that voice acting.
That was beautiful.
11 out of 10.
Maybe I should be a voice actor.
IGN scores are funny.
No, I shouldn't. Is there anything we can add to this?
I can't really add anything. You basically like summed it up. So, we'll move on to the next topic.
Sure.
Oh,
Alright, now, personal favorites in the franchise. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Now, when it comes for me picking favorites, I really look at a lot of things. When it comes to content, the story, as well as the quality of the overall gameplay. Why don't you go first?
okay, so my personal favorites, to be honest, I don't really have much experience playing the first three, but I played a little bit of them and I know the story behind them. But someday I want to like go back and play them. So just to elaborate, I can't really stress enough that I love Resident Evil 4 to death. I have basically multiple versions of that game on different consoles, so it goes without saying.
Let me name them off. You got the GameCube game,
Mm-hmm.
you got the PS2 game,
Yeah.
you've got, we don't have the PC game, but we do have the HD version of the PC game.
The better version.
We got the Wii version.
Actually, I don't think I have the Wii version.
Well, I do, and I think they're still doing that Capcom Humble Bundle. I can still get the PS3 version
Oh, yeah.
or PS4.
Oh,
Yes.
They're also doing they just released the PS4 remastered edition like 2 days ago.
yeah.
Oh, so that's probably not in the bundle. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
But I guess another game I'd like to talk about, and I wouldn't say this is like my personal favorite though, but I love the Revelation games. I thought they did a good job with establishing the atmosphere because I feel a little bit conflicted when talking about 5 and 6. Granted, I love 5 and a little, well, iffy on 6, but I'm not just going to go around on a rampage as to what didn't sync well with me on 6. But Revelations just did a good job syncing it. Like, it had character, it had potential, and everything.
I believe we have a whole topic for Revelations 2 coming up.
Yep.
As for my personal favorite, I personally love the remake to Resident Evil 1. The best way I can try to describe this, you all seen what Resident Evil 1 looks like, right? The PlayStation 1 game? Yeah, where the voice acting was, frankly, awkward. A lot of the gameplay elements were, might have been a little hard to adjust for a lot of people. I mean, by that point, I think people are very used to controls with Super Mario 64, for example. I remember back in the day, reviewers were complaining a lot about tank controls. You know, where you have to use left and right to turn yourself around and up and down to go back and forth.
Fun.
Yeah, and the game was also pretty difficult too because you really were scarce of your resources. So the remake basically took a lot of the problems that the first game had, and I don't know what term I would want to use to describe it, but for anyone who has seen the remake, they pretty much took the story and expanded it even further to the point where it doesn't contradict any stories in the later games, I should say. They really heightened the atmosphere with it. I mean, it's a lot more darker. They included a couple of new enemies, such as the Crimson Heads, and they even added a lot more content to it, such as unlocking all sorts of different modes, like that one mode where zombified Forrest comes at you with a bomb on his chest. You shoot him once, you're dead immediately. And then they had that they had this one mode where, you know how the item chest, you go to any room and you can open up the chest, and every item you put in one room will appear in every room. They have a mode where it's individual chests, as in you only get it if it's in one room, it's not going to transfer to any other room. So that was pretty interesting. Something I wouldn't see until Resident Evil 0, which I think came out around the same time. So that's my personal favorite. Anyone here want to chime in for personal favorites? Yes, Julie.
The remake, of course, and also Revelations 2. And Resident Evil 3. Those are my top 3.
And for one of those games, why do you consider one of those to be your favorite?
Personal bias mostly. I'm a big fan of Wesker and all that kind of stuff, so I thought the way he was portrayed in Resident Evil Remake was really good. But also, everything you said about the remake was pretty much spot on. Revelations 2, Barry. Finally get to play as Barry in the main story mode. And I thought everything they did with Barry is really good. 3, just because that's the first one that really scared me.
Oh my goodness.
Nemesis terrified me. But
Yeah, if I may chime in, I think one of the things that made Resident Evil 3 really good was the fact that you had the Nemesis come after you throughout pretty much most of the game. Like, he can appear anytime, especially if it takes a while. I believe that's how it goes. I know he shows up in key events.
Yeah, basically it's key events, but also random, depending on certain factors and stuff like that. But for most part, it's pretty random when he shows up. Just when it's most inconvenient for you.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of Clock Tower.
Oh man, Clock Tower is a whole different story, but
Yeah, we got another panel coming up tomorrow, so I'm sure we can talk more about that.
I'll be here.
Does anybody else? Oh.
I think he rose his hand earlier.
Probably definitely say, if it's the storyline, RE1 Remake for 360 was probably the best. If we're talking for the best gameplay, 4 at least was the smoothest. I mean, 5, co-op, great. Single player, why is Shade so stupid?
I know the pain.
Do we have a topic for Resident Evil? We don't talk about it.
No, we don't.
Okay. I do know with Resident Evil 5, when I first saw that teaser, it was just Chris Redfield, and then eventually they released a gameplay trailer showing Chris in a room full of enemies, and then just huge numbers of them everywhere. It's maybe a quarter the size of the zombies you see in Dead Rising, for example. Yeah.
So I did read some of the development and history with Resident Evil 5, and what I read on paper, I'm not going to go too much detail on it, but it sounded and it looked a lot better than what we got in the product. Granted, I had fond memories of 5, but let's just say it went for more atmosphere and like intense gameplay. But I decided just to cop out and just go for a co-op experience.
I think what it is the yes, Julie.
I was going to say that I enjoyed Resident Evil 5. I mean, it wasn't the best, but it's probably the one I played the most, and it had a lot of Wesker in it, so that's all I care about.
Yeah. Well, we had DC Douglas, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
DC Douglas.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
And I think we're.
Are you still doing the personal favorite songs?
Yes. You're free to chime in.
Well, Resident Evil 2 was the one that spoke to me when first coming into the series. Really, it took me way back to when I used to watch my older brother play it. And then now I can just go through it like clockwork. And, well, I think I like Resident Evil 4 because of Resident Evil 2, because I love the hell out of Leon.
There he is. It's funny you mention that too, because that's exactly how I got into the series. Yeah, my brother would play Resident Evil 1 as a rental, and then he eventually got his own PlayStation and got Resident Evil 2 as a Christmas gift, and I was watching him play that. Both scenarios, everything, so that's how I was able to just like that.
That's a good story.
I think Clayton had his hand raised.
So, my troll answer is Survivor.
Of course it was.
But my real answer is, as somebody who hasn't played too many of them, so nobody kill me, I like the fact that 5 and 6 have co-op, and that's because that's really the way I've experienced Resident Evil. I do have the remakes for PS4, so I am going to play them, and I do have 4, so I actually have a version of each game. I just haven't sat down and played them yet. But I really like the online co-op aspect. That's what got me into it.
Did someone else have their hand
We
raised?
can take one more. I believe he had it first.
Personal favorite is the Wii U version of Revelations 1, because it's just nice having that game on a console rather than just playing.
I played that one too.
With me personally,
I have it
think
for
it's
Wii U,
better on
I
the
just haven't played it.
3DS, but my second best would be the PC version because the controls are so much easier on that one. But hey, if you gotta play it, the Wii U and other console versions are definitely the way to go. There's no bad port.
And then out of simple nostalgia, because it was my first Resident Evil game, Code Veronica.
That was a really good one. What's kind of funny with that one is that I like the fact that they spoiled Wesker the first, as soon as you get on the title screen, bam, his face. Oh gee, I wonder what almost the main villain is. Alright, I think that's it for personal favorites. I believe. Has anyone ever heard of the Outbreak series? Oh
I
wow.
wish I had the chance to play them online.
Yeah, I remember when I first got the Outbreak series. I really enjoyed the idea of playing Resident Evil multiplayer. And the first time I've heard about it was on this channel called G4TV. Yeah, I know, right? And
Remember when they just kept on airing cops and everything else that we didn't care for?
and cheaters.
Yeah, because
Cops, cheaters, ninja warriors, that was it.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
found out all the locations in Dallas where they were filmed.
They gave up.
They filmed in Dallas.
Yeah, everything was filmed in Dallas.
Huh. Oh yeah, they were moving sets. Was it Attack of the Show that was referred to back then? Well, I know it's X-Play that talked about their Outbreak games. They had a whole preview going on, and they were showing off clips about how Alyssa was spamming the whole "Just Do It" line. I remember that one fondly. Were you about to do something?
I was about to say, just do it.
Of course. That was the main thing last year. And if you want to summarize San Japan last year, just do it. Anyway.
We get a motivator.
Anyway, so, as soon as I got the PlayStation Network adapter for my PS2, I played this game endlessly. I'm talking like every chance I ever got. Played through all 5 scenarios of the first game, got the second game as well, played every scenario I could. I guess the best way to summarize my experience is it's kind of like going through any Resident Evil game when you're playing with 3 blind people and deaf people. And I say that because there's no way to communicate with each other. I mean, you can use a keyboard before and after, yes.
They did have the whole like move down on stick and say random things.
Yeah, there's that. Like, just,
Yoko.
Thank you.
and then I had to try to come up with my own communication language. I even tried to start a forum, it was awkward.
If only we had Skype back then.
If only.
Yeah, that's all.
I did hear recently, like a couple years ago, that some very dedicated fans did to get the Japanese servers up and running. So if anyone's able to track down an import copy of this game, I believe there's instructions online somewhere. Should be able to still be able to play it online. I haven't tried it yet. You might even be able to emulate it. I haven't worked with that, so that's something to look into. Yes.
So what you're saying is I should buy a bunch of copies of the Japanese version and record it for my YouTube channel so we can play together. Is that what you're saying?
And what's your YouTube channel?
Zero Master LP.
I figure you were gonna do this. Alright, so next topic.
Anyone want to chime in about their experience for Outbreak? We can take a couple. Yes.
Yeah. So speaking of the no communication, this was with AI because like multiplayer shut down. I forgot what that dude, the lucky coin was, the Chris Tucker was in.
Yeah, but the lucky coin, if I remember exactly, there's really, it's a heads and tails thing, it's random. But every time it lands on heads, I think you're able to do about 1/4 of extra damage, or take 1/4 of extra hit. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's like if you get tails, all of it goes away, but if you just keep,
Oh, yeah.
basically all you gotta do is stay for the first, for 5 minutes, keep getting heads like 3 times. 'Cause that's like
Yeah, it's stackable, I was gonna say.
Yeah, like it stacks up 3 times, and then you're able to do like a whole extra bit of damage.
Yeah, and then Jim, that's the character you're referring to.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Jim.
Yeah,
Okay.
people joked back then they looked like Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, the Outbreak series is cool, but I really thought the part that was really cool was when you got the tyrant to help you fight hunters.
Oh, yes.
Like, that was pretty cool.
That was the thing with Outbreak File 2, where every scenario had someone stalking you.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the
guy.
Yeah, like there's okay, you get the giant elephant in the first level, then I forgot what the second level was.
The second level
like.
was the axe guy, the guy.
No, you're thinking of the third level.
Third level?
And I was going to use that for comparison's sake.
Oh, it was the ticks.
Ticks.
Yeah, it was in the subway.
And then the third level was the axe guy. He just comes at you with an axe.
And the 4th level was the RPD, I believe.
Oh yeah, that was when it was the gas. That was
Yeah.
When you said Axeman, you made me thought of the Hookman from the early Resident Evil 4 prototype thing.
Oh, Hookman?
Oh, that was a very interesting build. I believe that was a discussion.
I think that's cool.
Anyone want to chime in about Outbreak before we move on? All right, well, let's go ahead and move on.
Oh, this
We do it!
We do it.
Please let it happen.
Yes,
I believe we talked about possibly demanding a Resident Evil 2 remake at the last year when we presented. Yes, sir.
About that, some dude actually did a whole remake about it.
Oh, yeah,
And he made
Yeah.
a Resident Evil 6 version, but
It's funny. It's funny you mention that. I was gonna talk about that too. I do remember that there actually was a fan-made project made on the Unreal Engine called Resident Evil 2 Rebirth.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
actually got him interested in the remake.
Yeah, and it was even experimenting with a split screen mode, as in Resident Evil 2, you had two different characters who split off in their own paths, and depending on which disc you start off at, changes up the story. And then the split screen mode basically has you play the two characters at the same time in that one storyline, which I thought was a very interesting feature. And the great thing about it is that with the Resident Evil 2 remake, even though Capcom did put in a COD, they were nice enough to hire the people, or at least bring on the people who did Rebirth to get their opinion of what the remake should be. So it's very good. It's very cool that Capcom's been known to work with fans every now and then, like all the Mega Man fan games on the Mega Man fan comics, for example. I mean, Mega Man Legends 3 and whatnot aside. Yeah. But they've been pretty much mostly cool because to them it's free advertisement. Did you have something to add?
Well, as far as remakes are concerned, I just hope that this will turn out really well. I may have some concerns, but I'm not gonna go on about it. But other than that, I just hope it, it just knows what made Resident Evil 2 good, and capitalize on that, and just work with that.
Actually, yes.
I was gonna ask a question, would you prefer it to be more like Resident Evil the remake, where it's like tank controls, or Resident Evil 4 where it's over the shoulders? I know the fan remake had it to where you could do both, but honestly, what did you prefer?
I'm kind of been mixed on that option. I need some time to think about that, but I'll give you what I say. For now, I kind of would like what Resident Evil remake would do, just because I figured that'd be it'd just be like a safe approach. But sometimes when making remakes, you have to take risks. So I'm willing to accept risks being made if they're good, they're done for a good cause.
Exactly, it's good quality.
And I should probably chime in too that it is good to have the option. I mean, I've seen some examples of other horror games that try to give the fixed camera angle and over the shoulder an option, and that's a good thing to have. Good examples being games like Cold Fear.
Yeah, I was about to say Cold Fear.
But it's also something that kind of worries me at the same time, because I did read this one article that explained how Capcom is paying attention to their sales of Resident Evil 6 being released on PS4 and Xbox One, and supposedly taking that feedback over to the Resident Evil 2 remake. So that you have to take for what you. Yeah. I'm sorry, I was swearing earlier.
I apologize.
Yes.
So I got a question too. Because when I was looking at the remake of the fan who did it, I liked it, but it felt like a little bit too action, like how Resident Evil 6 kind of felt. What would you guys like it more, like Resident Evil, like the old style, or just kind of like?
I'm kind of in a mixed bag when it comes to Resident Evil being in action, because I like it to have an equal balance, kind of like how 4 did it. I mean,
Yeah, 4
it
did.
somehow did combine atmosphere with action, and I think it did all right for the most part. Some people may find the game to a little bit iffy at times, but other than that, if they can make the balance kind of perfect, kind of like what 4 did, then they should be fine. But other than that, if they want to do the safe route, they can just go for trying to go do a Resident Evil 1 remake.
The best example I can give you, has anyone seen Dead Space 2 or 1?
Yeah, I was played through that.
With that one, that's an example of in that game, you can argue that if you put it in the same setting as any of the first 3 Resident Evil games, it'd probably be very easy, because everyone knows by now, shoot the zombies in the head or blow their legs off or whatever. So that's a very difficult question to answer, because that would mean, what are we going to do with the overall difficulty? Because I believe that in order to make a horror game legitimately horrific, I guess would be the term, is to have some sort of limit on the player. I guess the best example I can use is, one of the more recent examples, is probably Never Ending Nightmares. Has anyone heard of that game?
Yes.
Yeah, it was an indie game on Steam where all you do is walk around, we walk up and left and right into a corridor, and there's hardly a thing you can do about it if a creature sees you. You can try to run, but your character has asthma, so he's not going to be able to run far. I mean, within reason, of course. I think that's how you can make something legitimately scary, is by having some sort of limits.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to horror, you don't want to like have everything in stock. I mean, arguably speaking, I could basically just carry the whole world on my shoulders.
Like Silent Hill Homecoming, for example.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so
Did we have anyone else who wanted to chime in? Yes?
All those things. Basically, what you're saying is bring back the merchant.
Yes.
What can I do for you, stranger?
I miss the merchant. I'm surprised they haven't made a mercenary spin-off
I know,
with
right?
him as a character.
Yes, please bring the merchant for a game. He wants your shekels.
What do you
Just wants your shekels. He's a happy merchant.
It's a shame we don't have a merchant here. Anyone else before we move on? Did you have anything to add?
I got nothing. I just please don't make it suck.
Isn't that what we should all be?
Trigger now. Oh, we got an hour.
Okay, you want to do one more topic?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. You want to talk about, let's do this debate.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, let's go.
Best game.
You're dead to me.
I got it for $5.
Fair enough.
You probably played Operation Raccoon City more than I did, so why don't you give them the premise of that one real quick?
Okay, so basically it takes place in in Raccoon City, you know, so it essentially destroys everything you love about 2 and 3 and just doesn't do a good job like treating like the source material from there.
Well, didn't it establish it was non-canon though?
Yeah, it did, but even then, even if it was not canon or whatever, it just wasn't very well utilized. Like, the main appeal is just like, oh, you get to play like from the shadows as these operators or whatever.
Except the guy in the middle.
Yeah.
You can't play as him.
Oh yeah.
Only in the multiplayer, which the multiplayer competitively just plain blows.
I did actually play this game too, and in fact we played cooperatively. We only rented it through GameFly.
Yeah, we were trying to help a friend's review with this game, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah, the game came out with a lot of bugs, and they focused more on DLC than the bugs itself.
Yeah, because we love DLC.
Yes,
To be
sir.
fair, the characters in the DLC were a lot more likable.
Yeah,
That doesn't say much, but
in fact, the DLC chapters are arguably way better than what we got in the base game.
Yeah.
which is sad.
Oh, I'm just gonna spoil this right now because I'm just basically discouraging you all to play this. The way they handled the ending is absolutely terrible because they basically they essentially advertise this game just like, oh, you get to change the canonality of the Resident Evil franchise, but guess what? You can only do it at the ending part. So basically, them advertising like that just felt like a wasted opportunity because you could just see throughout playing it's like, oh, they could have done this thing, they could have done that, this and that, you know?
And they get that too, didn't they?
Yeah, they screw it up. It's like, oh, they have me.
Okay, let's put it this way. You can help me explain if you want to. Say we got these 4 classes. At the end, you're given Umbrella tasks you with eliminating the survivors so they don't have any witnesses. Those survivors include Leon, Claire, and Sherry. Sherry gets taken away, of course, if you do elect to eliminate. But say, for example, the 3 of you are like, no, I don't want to kill him, and one of you is like, yeah. The game thinks, you want to kill him.
Yeah, it's gonna be like 2-on-2, but good luck trying to get 3 other people to suffer with you in the campaign.
And I think we went on long enough about Operation Raccoon City.
The ending sucks. So let's move on to Umbrella Corps.
Now with that one, they had a free weekend a few weeks ago on Steam.
I played it for free for an hour. I hated it.
I do remember the first time I've ever heard of Umbrella Corps was when they showed that gameplay trailer. The first thing that caught my mind was the animations in the prone position. Anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where he was like going around like a caterpillar. Are you actually going to demonstrate it?
This is how they hold their gun, like this.
Yeah. That's safe.
Oh, but then...
Okay, but being fair, in the first game, he holds his gun like this.
No, but at least he aims it like
That's
this.
not natural. Anyone who knows anything about guns knows.
But at least he aims it like this and not like this. And then he fires it like this. And hold a gun like this.
And then he starts aiming like he's playing, you know, whatever it's called, Red Steel.
Red Steel.
And to be fair, he had his finger on the trigger too, which is something you should never do unless you're ready to use it. Anyway, I got to try it out. He eventually downloaded it to try it out. I'm not gonna lie, I actually did enjoy it at first, and that's only because the animations are so awful. For example, I'm gonna see it quick. Like, for example, say actually, can you demonstrate for me? It's about the shutter. Like, pretend you're at a shutter, for example. Like you're using the one hand to pick up the shutter door. It's better if I do it.
I don't remember that happening. It kind of goes like this. It goes like that. And it's like, oh. And then like dislocates his wrist while doing it. And then he can like,
I'm not making this up. You can actually do that, aim your gun and fire without any consequence.
Oh yeah, you can crawl speed like so fast, it's ridiculous.
How does Metroid crawl?
If anyone knows the brainer, that's basically the melee weapon. You know, if you do the regular attack, that's basically like a one-hit kill. Until you find out you have a melee button, which is also a one-hit kill. At least against creatures, they are. So and the thing is, the difference between the regular attack and a melee attack, you stop to do the regular attack, but the melee attack, you can just go all over the place. So, I'm going to use a Nest here to demonstrate. And then basically, if he attacks, he holds still. If he's using the melee button, he can just do this. So what I do is I would be in the prone position all the time, just spamming the brainer, and never get slowed down at all.
Yeah, it's completely broken. Like, because the brainer is like so broken in that game, it just makes it pointless to level up and anything. It's like, oh, you already have the most overpowered weapon, so there you go.
But objectively though, to Umbrella Corp's credit, at least it wasn't buggy when it came out.
I mean, it's functional and playable, I'll give it that.
But compared to Operation Raccoon City, it has a lot more content, more multiplayer modes. It does have some semblance of an 8-player co-op mode, but something that resembles Mercenaries anyway.
That's
Yes.
where the missing Obsidian developers went.
So,
Yes.
if you had to put a price on it, how much do you think it's worth?
Umbrella Corps
Yes.
is whatever amount I can get refunded on Steam in less than 2 hours.
No. You buy a physical copy of it, you can't return it. How much do you pay for it?
Maybe
Brand new.
$15.
We're talking about brand new.
Yes, I would pay maybe $15 for Umbrella Corps, and that's me being generous.
I would not even spend more than $5 on this. And $5 is too generous for me.
Alright, but now, since we brought this up, I wouldn't mind getting anyone's personal opinions about this game. If you happen to like the game, feel free to speak up, I don't mind. Yes?
I bought the Collector's Deluxe Edition because there was no reviews after the game. I don't know
That
why
makes
there was
sense.
no reviews or trade or gameplay, so I just bought the Deluxe Edition for $40. And I got-
40?
Yeah, $40. Yeah, you get,
Oh, wow.
you get the hunk outfit and all that.
Oh wait, you're talking about Umbrella Corps, right?
Umbrella Corps.
Oh, okay.
And with the crawling thing is they every week, which I'll admit, I'm really surprised, they do patches every single Friday to change bugs and stuff with the game. So they actually slow down the crawling with the
They slowed down the crawling?
Yeah, the crawling. Yeah,
Are you sure?
Yeah, you can't bug. Yeah, I read the patch note. They said they slowed the crawling split down. They've been releasing free costumes and guns almost every other week.
I guess they're making up for it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, to their credit, at least they learned their mistakes from Operation Raccoon City.
I mean, who knows, maybe they might actually balance the brainer.
I should mention that I believe Umbrella Corps was developed in-house. They were using the Unity engine too, so maybe that would will. And with Operation Raccoon City, that was outsourced to a Western developer called Slant 6 Games, which is a big red flag for me, because they made SOCOM Confrontation.
If that was any indication of how bad the game was going to be.
I mean, you know, give it a chance, of course, through rental. And anyone else want to chime in their opinion on
I don't know if I already said this, but it turns out you're playing as Hunk the entire time in Umbrella Chronicles. Umbrella Corps, my bad. Umbrella Corps.
No, that's.
Like they have an achievement. They have an achievement that says Return the Grim Reaper on it, and pretty
Probably
much.
explains my single player was so bad.
Yeah. Also, Wesker talks to you when it's like years after he died.
And the story is supposed to be in late 2012,
Yeah.
2013.
Yeah.
Wesker's in the story mode.
He talks to you.
Yeah,
He's like,
talks
"Good
to
job. I'm glad you got that stuff for
Yeah,
me."
and he's even referenced in the text of the story mode, so I was kind of
Turns out he survived that volcano.
Maybe it was supposed to be a clue for a later game?
I doubt it. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to bring it up ever
His
again.
voice acting and in the text is in the game.
God damn it, DC Douglas.
It happens after.
They don't want to let him go.
Yes, sir.
Honestly, like I hated a little bit of Operation Raccoon City just because of the storyline a little bit, but I did love the art. I thought the art was actually one of my favorite things from it.
I think one of the main appeals for Operation Raccoon City was the characters you get to play as. I mean, to be fair, look at them.
They look pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just don't get why you can't make a game. I mean, Hunk, to accurately describe him, is the Boba Fett of Resident Evil.
I like it because he looked badass.
So it kind of makes me wonder, at Capcom, we will make a game about people like Hunk,
And not Hunk.
but not actually play as Hunk.
Until
But we'll make Lady Hunk.
Well, Umbrella, of course, okay. Did you have more to add?
But we'll make Lady Hunk as an April Fool's joke, but we won't give Hunk the credit he deserves. That's one thing I hate.
Yes, again?
I'll admit that the beginning of Operation Raccoon City, when you see Hunk like, "No, I still got stuff to do," and go after Birkin, that was pretty badass. Oh.
Yeah, that's in character.
Probably
so-
the only badass part, but that's pretty badass.
Anyone else wanted to chime in?